Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining our media call with Janine Beckie from Canada Soccer Women's National Team. Janine is joining us from Irvine in California, where the team is having their their Olympic training camp. Janine, first, I wanted to ask you, how do you think the Olympic Games can help inspire our nation in 2021, especially after the pandemic?
Yeah, it's been a hard year for everyone. I think it's a great way to unify Canadians around a sporting event. And it's especially special, I guess you could say, because we're competing for Team Canada and not just for, Canada Soccer, which I think adds an element of excitement because you're playing for a team bigger than yourselves. And you obviously want to add to the medal count for all of Team Canada. So it's a really special event to be part of. I know everyone young athletes dream of being Olympians when they're young. So we get to live out that dream and hopefully inspire the next generation of young Canadian Olympians, not just soccer players, but Olympians in general. So it's a special event and one that I know Canadians get excited to be a part of.
The team has consistently said that they want to change the color of the medal. What will Canada need to do to change the color of the medal?
Yeah, well, it's obviously something that we've never done. So to do something that's never been done, you have to do things that you've never done before. So we're trying to be a lot more positive on the pitch, playing forward a lot more, taking a lot more risk in the attack. And I think in our DNA as a team, tactically, we've always been incredibly sound defensively. And to win big tournaments, you have to get shutouts and limit the amount of goals that you're conceding. So we do that really well. But I think since 2016 have dipped a little bit in our defensive structure. So we've gotten back to that, but we've also added an element of flair and risk on the attacking side that I think we've been missing for the last couple of years. And we've got a really good group that's, firing on all cylinders right now, ready to be put to the test in a big tournament. And so I think if we continue to nail what we do really well, which is play really strong defense, and now we've added this new element of a really exciting attack, I think those two things will work really, really well and give us a really good chance of changing that color.
Thank you. We will now open to questions. Richard?
Thank you very much. So we'll start with news agencies at the top with two-part questions each. Neil Davidson, followed by Derek, please.
Thank you, Richard. Hello, Janine. Thank you for taking the time today. I hope you're well.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm good. Thanks.
My first question is actually about that. Can you give us an update on how you're feeling? You obviously missed the last camp, but we're told that you're doing much better now. Can you give us an update?
Yeah, I'm in full training. I'm 100%, which is great. It was more of a precautionary thing to keep me out of those two friendlies. But yeah, the medical staff here is incredible. So they've gotten me back to 100%. I've been in training and I'm feeling really good. Thanks for asking.
And following your introductory remarks, the team does seem to have more offensive options, yourself included these days, but the goals have been harder to come by at times. Given what you're seeing on the training field now, are you confident that that part of the game will be in order when you get to Japan?
Yeah, I think that it comes down to the opportunities that we're creating for ourselves in the attack, and kind of goes back to what I said before. The more risk we take in the attack, the more opportunities we give ourselves at goal. And I think that's been more the case rather than actually missing opportunities, is the lack of creation of opportunities. And so myself included, as part of that attacking front five, we like to say, there's been a lot of pressure to score goals, and we take that really personally when we're not putting the ball in the back of the net for the team, because obviously that's our job. So yeah, we've added a lot of talent. A lot of young players that have come up the ranks in the last couple of years have now had decent experience on the international stage. So I do think it's come together really nicely with this group of players that we have. And I definitely don't worry that we're gonna have an issue scoring goals once the tournament starts.
Thank you. Good luck in Tokyo.
Thank you.
Thank you. Derek with two questions for Post Media.
Hey, Janine. Good to see you. Thanks for doing this.
No problem.
I just want to ask you maybe your thoughts on your three group opponents, Japan and Chile and Great Britain. Just how do you break them down, and kind of how do you see that first round playing out for you guys?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting group because each team gives us a really different look. Japan, obviously incredibly disciplined, organized, very good technically, but I think they give us opportunity to exploit them with our physicality and our athleticism. So with the pace that we have up front, getting in behind, putting the pressure on, putting them under a high press, you do those kind of things against the team that is really organized. But they have a lot of attacking threats as well. Like I said, technically, they're probably one of the best teams in the tournament. So if they're always a difficult team to play against, you look at someone like Chile, who we don't see as much of, haven't played a lot of them in the past, but, typical South American style, good players, tricky players, can add an element of frustration to the game because those games can be a little bit chippy. Kind of like CONCACAF games can be, but definitely a team not to underestimate. Have had some good results, have a great goalkeeper. So they're going to, give us a good test as well. And I think the way that the group panned out actually plays in our favor quite a bit because it will be such different teams. And then obviously Great Britain, fantastic team, very talented, organized, athletic, physical. So we obviously faced England not too long ago, and everybody saw what that game was kind of about. So I think that will be probably our toughest head-to-head challenge because we're the most similar to Great Britain. The other two will be styles we don't often see. So but I mean, we're prepared to be the most prepared team at the tournament. So we won't see anything that we'll be surprised by.
And can you give me a thought on the Olympic experience itself? It's going to be a little different this time around. It sounds like there won't be as many athletes mingling. They're not sure about the crowd sizes. I guess, have you thought about maybe what this experience will be like for you guys?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to know because until we get there and we're in the midst of it, we're really not going to know for sure what it's going to be like. But we're prepared for it to be something that we've never experienced and probably, hopefully, won't ever have to experience again, in the midst of a pandemic. But I think I have to give credit to the staff here. We're incredibly prepared for whatever comes. Most of us, I think they're saying, worst case scenario, it's incredibly locked down and there's not going to be a whole lot to do. And that can be difficult when you feel cooped up. But this team is wonderful. We have such a great group of people that makes it easier. I think in terms of the actual games, fingers crossed that there'll be decent crowds because it won't really feel like an Olympic Games if there's not big crowds. And that's such a part of the experience that I'm so thankful that I got to have in 2016 where there was massive crowds, and we'll be disappointed for people that haven't experienced an Olympic Games if that's not the case. But at this point, we say safety is the first priority, and safety for ourselves, for fans. The last thing that we want is to have any issues when we're trying to win a gold medal. So we're a really go with the flow kind of team, and we're very prepared. So it will be really interesting to see what it's like.
Thanks, Janine, and great job on the TSN panel, by the way.
Oh,
You're fantastic.
thank you so much. Thank you.
No problem. Best of luck.
Thanks.
Thank you, Laura Armstrong. Go ahead.
Hey, Janine, sorry, I don't know how to use technology yet. Thanks very much for taking the time.
Sure.
You mentioned, not knowing what this Olympics is going to look like. Desiree Scott was talking a little bit about that, and she said you guys are doing some sort of some training in terms of preparing yourself for a different experience. What kind of training are you doing? And also as a veteran on this team, what role do you think you can play with your other teammates who are going to miss out on that experience that you had in 2016?
I think it's all about perspective. So for those players that haven't experienced, quote, the Olympic experience, this is going to be an Olympic experience in its own realm. And if you look at it in a positive light, we're going to experience something that, like I said, hopefully no one else ever gets to. So that will be, there'll be a lot of memories made. We're going to spend probably a lot more time with each other than we would maybe if we were in a real Olympic setting where, you could go out and explore a little bit more, but it'll be incredibly locked down. We'll be confined to our hotel, if not, our rooms for the most part. So I do think it breeds a very different type of team culture and team chemistry, I guess. That's almost a little bit more forced than it would be in a different situation. But I have to say, I would not want to be in any other group of people if that's the case, because we have just such great people around that we all want to spend time with. So I would just say to the younger players, like, this is going to be something that no one else will ever get to know what it's like. So really, like, enjoy every second of it. And thankfully, we do spend a lot of time on the pitch and a lot of time in preparation. And I will say it's probably the only time I'd be thankful that we don't have a lot of days in between games, because there's not going to be a whole lot to do. So I just know, I remember in 2016, the tournament started, and before we knew it, it was over. So we want to make the most of every moment. And we have to laugh, because some of the stuff is just so, it's just so crazy that you just have to go through it with a smile, because it would just be miserable if you didn't.
Absolutely. I just want to ask a quick one about your teammate, Kaylin Sheridan. She's up for an SB this weekend. And obviously it's been, kind of a tough road for her given the injury so close to the Olympics. What has it been like for you to watch the year that she's had, both, professionally and with the national team?
I think we get spoiled because Kaylin's up for Save of the Week like every week. So it's like, it's just like not a surprise anymore that she's up for a Save of the Week. Yeah, I'm so proud of Kaylin. She's always been such a competitor. She has the best attitude. And I think she's really just coming into her own on this team. And she's definitely going to be the future face in goal for Canada Soccer. No doubt about it. But she just brings such a light to the environment. She's got a great personality, as I'm sure any of you that have talked to her know. She's very bubbly and bright, and that definitely translates into her game. She's explosive. She's exciting to watch. And we were all devastated to see her go down in February, and it's been really incredible to just see her attack her rehab and be back and look like she's not missed a beat. So the fact that she's up for an SB is incredibly deserved. It's one of those things that's like, well, you kind of have to pinch yourself. Like, those are the kind of things that this team is capable of, and the kind of talent that we have in this group. And to be honest, I'm just really freaking like, it's about damn time that someone recognizes the talent that's on this team, and for her in that league, how dominant she's been. So I'm not surprised on one hand, but incredibly excited and proud of her on the other.
Awesome. Thanks, Janine.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you. Dan Pentland, FA.
Thanks, Richard. Hi, Janine. I hope you're well. Big question, I suppose. What will be bigger in your career, I suppose? Winning the World Cup or winning a gold medal at the Olympics?
Oh, it's an interesting question. As women's soccer players, we get an opportunity to compete at the Olympics at the senior level, which I think is something that the men miss out on. And I'm really thankful that we get to do that. So we get two chances in two different tournaments to be world champions, and not just, European champions or in one of the, lesser tournaments for the men. But it's interesting. I spoke to it before. When you're playing for Olympic gold, you're playing for Canada, for Team Canada, and representing a lot more athletes than just yourself. And you're just part of a bigger team. So I think that adds a different element to it. But at the same time, the Olympics and the World Cup are such different tournaments. And I think it is very, very difficult to win an Olympic Games. Of course, it's incredibly difficult to win the World Cup. And as a football person, the World Cup is the pinnacle of the sport. But as an athlete, the Olympics is the pinnacle of athletics. And so to have a gold medal, I think just carries a different weight, not necessarily better than the World Cup or worse than the World Cup, just really different. And to say, I already have a medal in my closet. The wish it was a different color. So that's obviously what we're going to go try and do this summer. But yeah, it's a tough tournament, 12 teams in just a matter of weeks that you're playing what would end up being 6 games. So there is a level of the Olympics that I think is more impressive to win than the World Cup. But at the same time, it's hard to compare the two of them because they're such different tournaments.
And just looking back to 2016, I think you scored 3 goals in that tournament. If you did the same again this time round, I think you'd equal Cara Lang's 4th best record for the country. How difficult would it be, I suppose, to replicate, your goal scoring feats of 2016 in the current tournament?
Difficult, I think, on multiple levels. Difficult because, you know, we're playing against very good teams. Difficult because in 2016, I had very little pressure on me. And I definitely am more of a known player now. I have high expectations for myself, and the team has high expectations for me in this tournament. So I think all of that makes it more difficult. But at the end of the day, if I'm scoring goals, I'm doing my job for the team. And I think if I'm scoring, then that puts our team in a really good position to get as far as we can in the tournament. And my 3 goals in 2016 were important to help us get where we got to. In my mind, should have had a few more, but I'll probably always say that looking back. So yeah, I mean, I'll do everything I can. I've been on a bit of a scoring drought for Canada lately, so it would be great to get the cover off the goal for me in a tournament like this.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Janine, and best of luck.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Har.
Hi, Janine. It's great to see you. Thanks for doing this. And it's been great seeing you on the panel. You've been killing it on TV.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, what is it like playing against, you know, teammates on England who you play with at City? I know there's a few other teammates that also play over in England. I obviously assume there's banter, but what is it like? You know their tendencies a little bit. I think maybe they know yours and your teammates as well that play over there. What is that like, and what's your perspective? That's going to be a tough game, that third game coming up. Thanks.
Yeah, it's always a tough game when you play against England, and now, you know, it's Team GB. They've added Kim Little, Caroline Weir, who I obviously know very well, and Sophie Ingle, who are 3 fantastic players. And they're going to bring a really, really strong squad. In the past, I think, like a lot of teams do, if I'm honest, I feel like we're overlooked by England. And I think that they've been caught the last 2 times that we've played them. And I do think there's the level of respect that they have for us now that maybe wasn't there in the past. So it's a respectful environment, but yeah, there's a level of difficulty, I think, when you play against a lot of people that you're in an everyday environment with. And it could end up that my teammates are 9, 10, 11 of the starting 11 for England potentially are my teammates. So there's a level of difficulty, but there's also a level of advantage because they know 1 of me and I know 11 of them. So it's, I think it's, again, all about perspective. I'm definitely very excited for that game. I think it's going to be a battle for sure. And in that 90 minutes on the pitch, they're definitely not my friends. So it's interesting, but at the same time, I'm very confident going into this tournament that we're going to be very strong against anyone that we come up against, and obviously them included.
Har, did you have a follow-up before we go around?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask overall, you're going to Japan, there's lots of kind of disorganization over there. What is it like from you as an athlete? I assume everything's prepared from your perspective. Canada Soccer, I guess, sorts everything out. But what is that like? Obviously, it's different than when you were over there at the last Olympics. So what is that like organization-wise?
Yeah, Canada Soccer is incredibly prepared. They're working off of any information that's given. I think you have to give grace to the IOC, to the COC, to everyone that's in leadership positions in this time. I definitely don't envy anyone having to make decisions in this period. But as an athlete, at least here in our pre-camp, I've felt no sense of anxiety, no sense of disorganization or anything like that. And that's all we can do is control what we can control. And if we get there and it's incredibly unorganized, then we handle it how it goes. But I do think it plays in our favor, actually, that, soccer is one of the sports that doesn't stay in and around the village, that we are around different parts of the country. I do think that is an advantage for us in this sense, because it gives us a little bit more control over our environment and what we're able to do. There's conversations that have had to be had. There's a lot of COVID protocols, but our staff is doing an incredible job taking the pressure and the load and the stress off of us, and just allowing us to focus on doing our job on the pitch.
Thank you very much. Good luck over there.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take just a couple follow-ups. So we've got Neil Davidson and then Laura Armstrong.
Thanks, Richard. Janine, you've worked under several Canadian coaches. Obviously, Bev is a bit of a known quantity from her previous time, but can you give a sense of what it's been like playing with under her and dealing with her? She seems, from what we see from the outside, to be very prepared, straightforward, caring with the players. How is she to play for?
She's been fantastic. She's done an incredible job since she took over. I think when any new coach comes in, there's a level of unknown, how it's going to be, how the players are going to react to the coach, what the dynamic is going to be like. And it's been so great on every one of those fronts with Bev. She's very straightforward. She's very prepared, but she also brings a very relaxed personality to the group. Fun, we want to enjoy ourselves while we're doing the work that we need to do. I've really enjoyed the training sessions she's prepared. So yeah, I really can't say enough good things about how she's come in and taken over, and she has high expectations. And I think she's pushing every player on this team to play, at their top level, and to play on that kind of level of being uncomfortable and doing things that some of us haven't done before. And I think that she's got a knack for getting the best out of people, and we're really starting to see that in our training environment, and there couldn't be a better time for it. So she's been fantastic, and I'm really looking forward to playing for her in this tournament.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Laura?
Hey, Janine. When you think about the player that you were back in 2016 compared to the player that you are going into this tournament, how do those two people compare?
Oh, and they don't. That was so long ago. It feels like an entire career ago. But there's obviously been some big moves in my club life since then. I've played now in an environment for what will be my now coming 4th season, where I'm challenged every single day to be at the top of my game technically, to really push to get minutes. And that's paid off a lot when I come into this environment. It's made everything better. I'm versatile, I can play in multiple positions, and that's been something that's come into this team over the last couple of years, is that expectation for me to play in different areas, and just to not have to think so much about my technical side of my game, because that's developed so much since then, that I can think a little bit more about how I can use that to be a better player. I just think I'm a much more dynamic, full circle kind of player than what I was in 2016. But like I said earlier, the expectation is also incredibly different than it was then for me. And this team expects me to produce and play, at the top of my game all the time. So yeah, it's high pressure, but that's how I wouldn't want it to be any other way. And I'm excited to see who I can be in this Olympics compared to the last.
Thanks, Janine. Travel safe out there.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. This wraps up our Canada Soccer Women's National Team media call with Janine Beckie ahead of the Olympic Games. Thank you very much, everyone.